I welcome you all in my YouTube channel exploring the concept. So once again, I'm with first chair. Hello, first chair, everyone. Please be attentive. And this is HSSC-I. Biology means higher secondary school classes. My today's topic is from chapter number 4, Bioenergetics. And then I'm going to discuss summary of photosynthesis and light-dependent phase, few steps from light-dependent phase. So starting from the objectives, that I want you people to understand the light reaction today, and also the phosphorylation and its different types, also the photolysis and its importance. So let's start with the summary of photosynthesis. Look at this diagram. You all know it, and I must have an idea that you have gone through it before in your the lower grades in sixth, seventh grade, I think so. So this is the light summary of photosynthesis. This is that oval shaped structure is basically the chloroplast, and then chloroplast have double membrane, and then this is the inner area of the chloroplast, which is called as stroma, and these the thylakoids, the pile of a thylakoid, and its pile is called as the granum. And you all know that this is the part of the chloroplast that have the capability to absorb sunlight, right? So we are unable to do that. This is all only and only the plants that have the capability, plants and all those organisms who have photosynthetic pigments, they have the capability to absorb the sunlight from the atom, from the sunlight of the sun, and the rest of the world, they are just to use it in other ways, but they are not capable of absorbing that energy and then converting it into any chemical product. If we are standing the whole day in front of the sunlight, we cannot do anything that, and we just get that a tanned skin, and that's it. Otherwise we are unable to convert that radiations, that light energy, into some productive energy. So this is the photosynthesis basically have two steps. One of the step is called as light dependent phase or light dependent reaction, which is also called as light reaction. The other phase is basically light independent reaction or light independent phase, or it is also called as the dark reaction. So this region is indicating you the reaction just going on in the presence of sunlight. While that is the region where Kelvin cycle will going on. Kelvin cycle does not need light, and it can carry on both during the day and at night as well. So this is the light reaction that needs light sunlight, the presence of sun, and this is the dark reaction. So I am discussing about the few steps from the light reactions. So let's start a brief introduction of what is a light reaction. So light reaction or a light dependent phases, by the way, have few important things which we are going to discuss today. First of all, it involves the absorption of light by photosystems. I already have discussed in few in last lessons with that what are photosystems. Photosystems are the batteries, you can say, are the structures, you can say, that can absorb the sunlight. Rest of the molecules, rest of the world, they are unable to absorb sunlight in a way plants can do. So first of all, what we are going to study in the light reaction, that there should be a photosystem which is going to absorb sunlight, and then there is an excitation of an electron. Obviously, that sunlight, what it is going to do within the photosystem, it will excite the electrons. When electrons are capable of taking that energy and then transferring it to other molecules within the plant, and then flow of electrons through an electron transport chain. And the excited electron, obviously, it is unable for that electron to sit at some specific position. It has to move because it has some extra energy. So these excited electrons will move through electron transport chain. And we will discuss what is the importance of electron transport chain, why there is a need of electron transport chain. And then this electron transport chain is coupled with the production of ATP. And you should have an idea about ATP, that what is an ATP. It is a high energetic compound which is needed by the living system for doing any physical activity, internal or external both. So ATP is very very important structure produced by the plants. So Then is the reduction of NADPH, another very high energetic compound, NADPH. So, what is the purpose of light dependent phase? Basically, the purpose of light dependent phase is the production of ATP and NADPH, right? So, these two things are the main target. So, light dependent phase is, by the way, involving two different types of electron transport chains, right? So, I am discussing just the electron transport chains. So, there are two pathways for the production of the ATP. One is non-cyclic photophosphorylation, and the other is cyclic photophosphorylation. I'll discuss both the terms few minutes in the lecture. So let's start with the term phosphorylation. What is phosphorylation? Now look at this diagram. Look at this diagram. It is a molecule of ATP, right? And it is a molecule of ADP. This molecule is basically having two p bonds, means it is a diphosphate, adenosine diphosphate. And this molecule gets some energy in the form of another p molecule, so by adding a phosphate group into ADP. So addition of phosphate group into ATP will convert that molecule ATP into ATP. This addition of phosphate molecule into ATP and for formation of ATP is called as phosphorylation. What is phosphorylation? The production of ATP, the production of ATP by adding a phosphate group, a high energy compound, into a molecule of ADP, right? So that is why it is called as ATP. This ATP obviously will break into ADP and phosphate once again by releasing the energy whenever there is a need in the body. So this is phosphorylation. So basically, we are going to discuss a term called photophosphorylation, means the production of ATP in the presence of light. So the production of ATP during light reaction is called photophosphorylation, and the mechanical mechanism is called as chemiosmosis. So I'm hoping that the two terms, one is phosphorylation and the other is photophosphorylation, the meaning of the two terms is obviously there is a same reaction is going on in both the reaction in both the terms. This is the production of ATP. But in case of photophosphorylation, it means the production is in the presence of sunlight, means the production is in the plants. And the mechanism they are going to use is called as chemiosmosis. Types of photophosphorylation. Now, there are two types, non-cyclic photophosphorylation and cyclic. They are basically depending upon the two different types of electron transport chain they are using. Obviously, in both the case, light energy is needed for the production of ATP, but they are using different electron transport chains. One is using a non-cyclic and the other is using a cyclic. Look at these two diagrams. This diagram, this is called as Z scheme. This diagram is showing you a Z-shaped structure, a Z-shaped reaction, by the way, that is called as non-cyclic. As what is the meaning of non-cyclic? It means you can clearly identify the first product and the last product. In that case, you call it as a non-cyclic pathway. But in case of a cyclic pathway, in case of cyclic pathways, we are unable to identify the beginning and the end of a cycle. So in this phase, you are unable to identify that which one from which part of the cycle the reaction is going to start. So this is a cyclic phase, a small cyclic phase. It's a bigger reaction and it is non-cyclic. So let's discuss in detail both the reactions. This is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay. Non-cyclic photophosphorylation. What is non-cyclic photophosphorylation? In non-cyclic electron flow, it is basically non-cyclic electron flow. That's like the excited electrons after leaving a particular photosystem do not come back. Instead, they incorporate into other photosystem after losing their energy. Now look at this diagram. This is one photosystem. This is another photosystem. Non-cyclic photophosphorylation involves two photosystems. Non-cyclic photophosphorylation involves two photosystems. 2 and 1. This is basically on the numbers basically are given on the basis of their discoveries. This one, the second photosystem, it will discovered first, and this was discovered before after the first one. So anyways, this is the photosystem 2. The electrons are coming from the photosystem 2. These two electrons, the system, the primary electron acceptor basically taking the electrons from photosystem 1 and then give it to the photosystem 2. We will discuss whatever is going on in the center, but first of all, the first point to understand is the movement of the electron from photosystem 2 to the photosystem 1. This is P680, the removal of electron. This arrow is showing you the removal of electron. How this electron will move come out of this photosystem 2? By the use of this for sunlight, the photon will excite this the electrons of P680, and two electrons will come out of it. These two electrons, after moving through electron transport chain, will come to the photosystem, will reach to the photosystem 1. That is why it is called as non-cyclic photophosphorylation. That is why it is called as non-cyclic. It is coming from the one and entering inside in the next. In case of cyclic, it is coming from the second and it will come back to the second again. That's why it is called as cyclic. Okay. I'm hoping that the term non-cyclic photophosphorylation is clear to all of us. So then non-cyclic photophosphorylation is more important in the higher plants. Okay. It involves two photosystems, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. And it also involves two electron transport chains. Photosystem 2 absorbs light. I've shown you in the last diagram. It absorbs light in the form of photons. Its excited electrons, after flowing through an ETC, are transferred to photosystem 1. So the movement of electron from photosystem 2 to the photosystem 1 through ETC is called as non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So then is similarly the excited electrons which are liberated from photosystem 1 are finally accepted by PNADP. Therefore, it is called as non-cyclic electron flow. The events of non-cyclic photophosphorylation are continuous. First of all, I want to tell you the steps. Number one step, absorption of light by PS2 and excitation of electrons. Now, this is the main topic of our today's lesson. So please be attentive now. So non-cyclic photophosphorylation, it has few stages. It has few steps. Absorption of light by PS2 and excitation of electrons. First step. Second is photolysis of water. Third step, electron flow from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1. Fourth step, absorption of light by photosystem 1 and excitation of its electrons. And then last reaction, electron flow from PS1 to NADP. So absorption of light by PS2 and excitation of its electrons. It was the first step of non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, now look at this photon. Photon is going to strike this photosystem. These photosystems, you all know that this photosystem has two parts. One of them is antenna complexes, the other is the reaction center. Reaction center has chlorophyll A and primary electron acceptor. Reaction center has chlorophyll A and primary electron acceptor, the protein which is responsible to receive the electrons from the chlorophyll A. And these antenna complexes are just the molecules of other pigments, accessory pigments, to receive the sunlight. Basically, they are helpful in protecting the chlorophyll A, plus in providing the energy when there is a lot of energy and chlorophyll is not going to absorb it directly. So, what is a photon? Photon is actually a source of light, an energy packet in the form of heat. This energy does not have any mass or any charge. That's why it is just called as the energy packet in the form of heat. It strikes the electrons of chlorophyll molecule present in the outermost shell of the chlorophyll molecule. This photon strikes the electrons of outermost shell of chlorophyll molecule. By doing this, these electrons they get energy from the sunlight and they get excited. Because of this much energy, these electrons they are unable to sit in this green circle. So they try to move, but as there is no electron acceptor there, so they are unable to move from this point. So what they do, they transfer their energy from one molecule to the next. By doing this process is called as resonance or photoelectric effect. You all know, you must have read that in the physics. This movement of electron from one from one container complex to the next is called as resonance. This will move up to reaching to the chlorophyll A molecule. Whenever the energy of this high excited electron will reach to chlorophyll A, it will transfer to the primary electron acceptor. These highly energized electrons are received by primary electron acceptor. So when two photons strike the antenna complex of PS2, the two electrons become excited and begin to move along the atoms of different pigments within the photosystem. So this is the photosystem, this whole green structure, which is something like capsicum. So this whole is called as the photosystem, and it has these are the antenna complexes. You can see the movement of the resonance. This is the resonance or the movement of the excited electrons. They will move from one antenna complex to the next and reaching up to the reaction center. This pink structure and the red structure is basically the reaction center. This reaction center has chlorophyll A molecule. This chlorophyll A molecule, on receiving the energy from the other molecules of the accessory pigments, these electrons will reach to the primary electron acceptor, right? So this is basically light harvesting complex. This is the chlorophyll molecule. These are the photons. Electrons are in the ground state first, but later on, when they strike through with the help of a photon, they will reach to their excited state. And energy will release in the form of heat. So this is what is how the electrons of PS2 are get excited. Then ultimately the absorbed energy reaches the reaction center of PS2 and causes its two electrons to be excited. These highly energized electrons are captured by primary electron acceptor of photosystem 2 and leave two electron holes in PS2. What will happen to the what will happen to this chlorophyll molecule? This chlorophyll molecule will lose two electrons. Why? Because of the high energy. And these electrons are received by the reaction center by the primary electron acceptor. On receiving these two electrons, what will happen to the chlorophyll molecule? Chlorophyll molecule will have a vacancy, will develop a vacancy of two electrons. As you all know, no thing in this world can stay in an unstable form. Everyone wants stability. Everyone in this universe wants stability, right? Everyone in this universe wants stability. So the chlorophyll molecule too, after giving these two electrons, it will get it will in a unstable form, and it is waiting for some molecule to get these electrons. So who is going to help the PS2 in this state? This is the water molecule. Water molecule help the photosystem by giving its two electrons to the chlorophyll molecule and by making it a stable molecule. Water molecule have two covalent bonds, sunlight and some enzymes. They help these water molecule to break down. So the breakdown of the water molecule in the presence of light is called photolysis. The breakdown of water molecule in the presence of light is called photolysis. On its breakdown, these two electrons, which was shared by the hydrogen and oxygen, these two electrons of hydrogen, both the hydrogens drop their electrons to the photosystem 2. Photosystem 2 is basically P680. It has the capability to absorb a very narrow range of wavelength, that is 680 wavelength. So it absorbs 680 wavelength. That's why it is called as P680. It receives two electrons. Why it is going to receive two electrons? Because it will donate its two electrons to the primary electron acceptor, and it has created two vacancies of electrons. These two electrons from the water will move to the P680. So the E holes of photosystem must be filled so that in the presence of water, splitting enzyme reactions can proceed. Water reacts with the oxidized state of chlorophyll. As electrons have given the electrons, so electrons have p680 have given their electrons to the primary electron acceptor, so removal of electrons is called as oxidation. So chlorophyll molecule get oxidized first, later on it will reduced with the help of water by taking two electrons from water molecule. This is how enzymes help the water molecule in breaking down it into two hydrogen atoms, two electrons, these two electrons of the hydrogens, and one more molecule of water. Another water molecule will break to make the oxygen available in the atmosphere. This is the oxygen of water which is available in the atmosphere, and we use this oxygen which is basically provided by the water molecule. So in return, we can say that photosynthesis is responsible for providing us oxygen. So water molecule is very important in case of plants. It is going to provide two electrons for the stability of the chlorophyll molecule, and it provide also oxygen for the replenishment of the oxygen of the atmosphere, and two hydrogens for the production of another high energy compound NADPH. Two hydrogens, this reaction you need to learn. Since this breaks down occurs in the presence of light, therefore it is called photolysis. So let's have a recap. What are the steps of the non-cyclic photophosphorylation? Absorption of light by 4ps2 and excitation of its electrons. This we have done that photons are responsible for the excitation of the electrons of the ps2, and then these excited electrons are taken by the primary electron acceptor of ps2. Next step was the photolysis. Photolysis is actually the breakdown of water molecule in the presence of light with the help of enzymes. And these the purpose of the breakdown of this water molecule is to fulfill the needs of the PS2, the chlorophyll molecule of the PS2, and also the atmospheric oxygen, and also for the production of NADPH. So these two steps we have completed up till now. The other three steps we will complete in the next lesson. Electron flow from PS2 to PS1 means ETC. Absorption of light by PS1 and excitation of its electrons. And then electron flow from PS1 to NADP means second ETC. Let's have a recap. What is phosphorylation? Who is going to tell me what is phosphorylation? You need to write the answers in the comment box. Phosphorylation is actually the addition of phosphate group to ATP is called, for the production of ATP is called phosphorylation. Name various steps of non-cyclic photophosphorylation. We just have completed the steps. How chlorophyll get oxidized? Chlorophyll molecule get oxidized by removing two electrons from P680. How? By absorbing photons and removing the electrons and giving the electrons to the primary electron acceptor. Importance of photolysis. Yes, photolysis is very important as it is going to provide you the electrons, it is going to provide the chlorophyll molecule the electrons, providing us oxygen, providing hydrogen ions to the NADP. So I thank you all. All the best from my side. If you have any question, you can ask me at any time. Allah Hafiz.